Myslik is here to make sure you have a fun summer by helping you prevent and treat some common summer health hiccups. Hey, Frank.
Hello, Mary.
How's it going?
Doing well. Thanks for having me back on.
Oh my gosh, it's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Frank, I am excited that you're here because last night you went axe throwing, which I was like, that's a dangerous activity for a doctor to do before he's on TV.
Well, they feel safer with me around, even though I'm really good at calling 911.
There you go, fantastic.
Yeah.
You're good to go. All right,
Yeah.
so today we're going to talk about some common summer health issues.
Yeah.
We're going to start off, I think, with the number one, and that is a sunburn.
Yeah. Have you ever had a sunburn before?
Come on.
Well, I didn't want to imply anything, but, I mean, sunburns are really common, right? And we think about it when the sun's out bright and shiny.
Yeah.
But when it's overcast, too, it's caused by UV light.
Okay.
So that can penetrate in through the clouds. So it's really easy to get a burn on overcast days, just as easy it is when it's shining out. So do be aware of that.
Okay, that's good to know. Now, what should we do to kind of prevent getting a sunburn?
Yeah, so there's really three things. One, stay out of the sun.
Okay.
During those hours of 10 and 4 when it's at its worst, stay in some shade. That can really help.
Yeah.
The second piece is using clothing. And I don't mean just like a shirt like this.
Yeah.
There are actually sun protective clothing that have different weaves, makes, and models. So you can use something like that as well.
Oh, cool.
The third thing, though, is
Sunscreen.
sunscreen.
Yeah, there you go.
So sunscreen's the most prevalent thing that we have.
Yeah.
And we won't go too far into it, but the biggest thing you want to look at is the SPF factor, or the sun protective factor.
Yeah.
In this case, 30 is a really good number that you can use here in Canada.
Okay.
The examples here that we have is actually a Canadian-based one, for
cool.
example.
Right
and
on.
usually it's listed right on the bottle. So that's something you want to be aware of. Yeah.
See, I usually use a 50. Is that too strong or is that okay?
No, 50 is great.
Okay.
In fact, higher is better. I would just say you can start with 30. Some people like that little summer glow.
Got
but you
it.
can still get a bit of a tan with a 30.
Got
but
it.
depending on your skin complexion, your medical conditions and medications, you might want to consider something higher too.
Okay, cool. Now, how often should we be applying or reapplying sunscreen?
Well, about every 2 hours.
Do I do that?
Do I do that? No,
Yeah.
not so much. And in fact, when you're out in the water too, we might put on this like water resistant type. And in our brains, we think, wow, we're good for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
It's actually good for about 40 to 80 minutes.
Oh, wow,
So you
okay.
do have to be diligent with applying. Whether you're good or not, it's just good to be aware of.
Okay,
Yeah.
so what happens if we do all of those things, yet we still get that sunburn?
Well, at the end of the day, you get a sunburn about 3 to 5 hours after exposure. It's at its worst about a day after, but time heals it, essentially. To help reduce the symptoms, you can use like a moisturizer or aloe vera, which we have here. And then what you can also do is you can put a cold, wet cloth on top.
Okay.
So something very simple. If you just take a towel, dip it in some cold water, just lie it right on top like that.
That feels really nice,
It
even if
feels
you don't
really
have a
good.
burn.
And that's going to actually help a lot with the symptoms.
Yeah.
It's going to reduce a lot of that heat and swelling around there too.
Okay, and what if you've got like that pain associated? You got a bad burn. Does something like an Advil or ibuprofen
Yeah,
help?
ibuprofen or like an anti-inflammatory is really good for it. That will help reduce the pain.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah.
Now, summer sunburns are not the only thing that happen. We also do a lot of cooking, and we also do, maybe you're sitting around a campfire. What if you get maybe one of those types of burns?
Exactly. Yeah, so you get that direct exposure, and you can spill water and get oil on them, so you can get really bad burns. Let's talk about the burns very briefly.
Okay, cool.
Number one is your superficial burn or first-degree burn.
Okay.
That's mostly the sunburn stuff that we just talked about.
Kind of on that first layer.
Yeah, the first layer there, the epidermis, and basically you get that nice little kind of broil on the top, essentially, but it doesn't penetrate any deeper. I know my audience.
Yeah,
it's a kitchen
cooking
show.
term, cooking term.
And then from there, most of those don't need medical treatment.
Okay.
It just is time.
Yeah.
Then you get to the partial thickness second-degree burns. That's where you start to get those blisters and painful areas. Really bad sunburns can actually progress to a second-degree burn, but a lot of those that we see and where it is, you want to really seek some medical attention sometimes in those cases, depending on how extensive it is.
Yeah.
And then the third type is a full thickness burn, all the way deep there. It goes both through the first layer and the second layer into the deeper tissues. Those can be really bad. And you get that gray, white appearance. There may not even be a lot of pain because it kills the pain fibers. So you do want to seek medical attention in that case.
Okay, good to know, good to know. Now, when we get something like maybe one of those burns, maybe not a third degree because we're going to the hospital
You're
for
going to
that
the hospital
one,
either way.
but maybe a bad first or a second degree. What's something that you suggest to treat that?
Yeah, so right away, if you got some clothing on, you want to cut that away, right? You don't want that heat source on top of it. Second thing you want to do, put something nice and cool on top, like a cold towel that I just demonstrated. That's going to help remove some of that heat, and it's going to actually reduce the injury itself. Don't put ice directly, though. That can actually cause more damage.
Okay, good to know.
Yes.
Good to know.
And then from there, afterwards, if it is got blisters on top, as tempting as it is, do not pop the blisters. It's so satisfying, though, but what it acts is as a barrier, so you don't get any sort of infections. If it does break, use just soap and water, keep it nice and clean. And then you actually want to put a dressing on top of it. So for example, you can use a nice little Vaseline or Polysporin.
Nice.
And so what you can do is you can take a regular dressing like this. open it up.
This feels very Dr. Frank.
I know. I'm trying to live up to the name.
Yeah.
And so what you essentially do is you're going to take the goop, you're going to put it all over just like that.
Oh, like a good amount of goop.
You get another goop because you don't want to put a big dry dressing on top.
Ugh.
Slap it on top like that, and then you want to take a dressing, wrap it around.
Oh, I look like I just got a tattoo.
What's that?
I look like I just got a tattoo, Frank.
You basically,
kind of did.
Yeah, it kind of did.
So wrap it up real good.
Wrap it up real good like that.
Okay.
And then you can tuck it in at the end.
Okay, perfect.
All right?
I'm just going to hold them.
You're going to hold them?
I'm going to
Yeah,
hold
there
them.
you
This is my cool new tattoo. We got it.
So you don't want to put a dry gauze on top because that'll stick to the wound.
Okay.
So you want to use something like that.
Okay, right on. I love that. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Now, what about bugs?
Bugs.
The worst.
Can't do a lot. You can bring someone who's really got that sweet skin.
That's my mom.
Yeah, that's number one. You bring that friend along.
Yeah.
But beyond that, you want to use a good mosquito repellent.
Okay.
Well, there are a lot of different types out there that are natural, like the citronella candles and that. A good DEET repellent like Off is really, really good for that. It's safe. Health Canada has approved it. Doesn't cause any toxicity or anything.
Okay.
So feel free to use that sort of bug bite sort of repellent
Preventative?
that
Yeah.
prevent it essentially. Yeah.
Okay, cool. And then what if we get a bite? How can we kind of treat them? Because you have something here that I never would have thought for bug bites.
Yeah, so bug bites, your body releases histamine, which is what gives it that itchy feeling when it's red, bumpy, and swollen.
Yeah.
So you want to use a antihistamine. Claritin, Benadryl, that's what they all are.
Okay.
There are topical versions, but you can also get the ones over the counter at the pharmacy, and I would advise taking that to help.
See, that's smart. I never thought about the fact that the itchy thing is kind of sort of a rash.
Yeah.
Which then, like, Benadryl obviously
It's
helps
your body
with.
reacting to
Yeah.
it, and funny enough, you can also use that cool towel trick that I just showed you.
Man, it's the MVP of this segment is the cool towel.
Towels are the best thing that we got, so
Yeah.
I definitely advise having those around.
All right, now what about a first aid kit? You're gonna take us through kind of what you like to put into your basic first aid kit. Let's do it.
Let's go over here.
Awesome, let's do it. All right. Okay.
So what we got here, we have all this stuff you can buy at a regular pharmacy over the counter. So you got to get a cool bag first.
For sure, cool bag.
This, here we got like a red bag. You can get something more fun, of course.
Yeah.
And then you also want to get the dressings. So you get the gauze, the Band-Aids. Get really fun Band-Aids like Paw Patrol or the Marvel
very
ones. I would
cool.
advise those both for little kids and
Adults alike.
grown-up kids,
Yes.
And then you want some tape and adhesives, obviously, once you want to secure the dressings. Then we move along down here.
Okay.
You do want something to clean the area. So you want like just a regular soap just to kind of clean it, or you can use an antiseptic to spray on the area.
Okay.
And then you need some hardware and tools, tweezers and scissors, really good to cut or debride or clean an area like that. And then we move further down here, and we even have back to that polysporin we talked about. You also want to put like those antihistamines and Advil in that case, just in case you got to break it out in the moment.
Yeah.
You can even use a Vaseline because at the end of the day, you want the dressing not to stick.
That's the key.
Yeah, exactly. So if you were to buy a lot of these and put that all in the kit, very reasonable, you'll be apt for a lot of the things that we talked about today and most wounds and stuff.
Oh, Frank, you're keeping us safe and healthy, and I love it so much.
Whatever can keep you out of the emerge, I prefer that. I don't need more business.
Yeah.
these days.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Frank. Great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Hey, Mary here. What did you think? Drop your comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more of the good stuff.